Yo, to all my creatives, on Wednesday, February 26th, we will be doing a Black Window Cream exclusive live stream with two-time award-winning VFX superstar Kawika. This live stream will be about an introduction to VFX. If you are an aspiring VFX artist or a video creator that wants to learn how to implement VFX into your current work, then you definitely want to tune into this stream. Some of the artists that Kawika has worked with are Chris Brown, DaBaby, Lil Wayne, Big Sean, Travis Barker, Rick Ross, a million others. I can't even list them all. Kawika will be breaking down the three most important fundamental skills of all VFX work, how to develop your skills by creating spec work, and how to build clients as a VFX artist. Our conversation will be free-flowing as we dive into these topics and answer your questions along the way. And at the end of the discussion, we will be doing a live Q&A where you'll be able to hop in via video chat and talk to Kawika and me directly and ask any question you want. If you want to join this live stream, make sure to register. We will see you there. Black Window Cream going hammer in 2020.
And we are back with another morning roast edition of the Black Window Cream podcast, where every Wednesday morning we deep dive into creative topics with the goal of giving you motivation and inspiration. I'm your host, Ben Haggerty, aka Ben Real Verse World, and this is my co-host, David Malave. What up, Dave?
What's happening, bro?
Nothing.
We chilling. Yo, I just want to give a shout out to my parents.
Yes.
My parents are new weekly Black Window Cream listeners.
Everyone, round of applause.
Shout out to mom and dad. They don't do creative stuff, but they listen every week. So thank you.
And without mom and dad, none of this would be possible.
Also, shout out to Ben's mom, because she's probably listening also.
Yeah, my mom does and my dad occasionally. All right, today's topic is called perfecting your invoices. Why is that the topic, you may ask? Well, it's because, coming up as a freelance creator, it's not really easy to figure out how to get paid for your work, and sometimes it involves submitting invoices, and I've learned the hard way about how to go about doing that and to get paid in a timely fashion, to get paid at all. And so we're going to dive into that right after this intro. But if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, you're probably wondering,
what the fuck is Black Window Cream?
Great question. Black Window Cream is the illest educational resource for content creators fueled by caffeine. Or at least I take my coffee Black Window Cream, but you can drink or not drink whatever caffeine you fuck with and still be a part of our community. We have thousands of members from all around the world working together by sharing content, asking for feedback, passing tips and tricks along to one another with the goal of pushing each other to become the best motherfucking content creators on earth. And you can join our private group if you want to by going to bwnc.com/join. We would love to fucking have you. Please join. And without further ado, I bring to you this morning roast episode in the second most epic podcast intro ever created right motherfucking now. Welcome to the morning roast, a place where you will get the most info from a deep dive into the topics that really need life, with your host Ben and Dave coming to you live today. Grab your cup of joe and take some fucking notes, you bitch. I remember you telling me that you didn't, like, your parents didn't listen to the podcast, right? Like,
yeah, I think it was kind of like a moment where I had finally posted something about morning roast, because I haven't often, and then I told them, I was like, you can hear me speak like every week, me and Ben Trump, and then I think finally they got it, and then my mom started listening. She's like super into her iPad and watching YouTube all the time when she's working on the side. Same with my dad. So like, or my dad, not really, but he said he's been listening every week. So
they're indulging on the YouTube side of things.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I think I told my dad that he can listen to it, like he's driving like to different clinics and stuff. He could listen.
Right.
But
well, if anyone else is listening on audio and has always wondered, is there a video version of this? Yes, there is.
You can see right now. You can see me wearing a Kobe shirt, and Ben's wearing a little fly Ivy Park jacket.
Yep, and you can go on there and subscribe just like Dave's mom. That'd be nice. Yeah, it's been a good time. I think the last time we recorded was before I went to Hawaii.
Yes,
Hawaii's fucking dope, dude.
You feel refreshed?
Feel very refreshed. Well, we got back here and then went straight to it. Went to Caleb's birthday party.
Yeah, that week was a lot.
Introduced Beyonce to Lauren.
That was tight.
And then we went and had a premiere for the School of Greatness, or the Chasing Greatness film that I co-directed. You should check it out, greatness.com. I don't know if it's still up.
Last Wednesday we did a podcast about just that whole documentary process. So
yeah, it came out. It was awesome. So the premiere was really cool. Darren made a really ill-ass behind-the-scenes video. Go watch it on his Instagram so he can get some follows. at Darren Conrad __.
Yeah, he hasn't posted it yet.
One underscore. It's dumb.
Change it.
Change it. Yeah. So anyway, it was dope. And then you've done what? Goddamn, like you were on like 3 different music video sets. How'd that go?
It's good, man. Just learning, working, trying to take advantage of everything.
Getting a bag.
Securing some bags.
Securing some bags. Okay, so anyway, we were talking. I don't know what made us think of Invoice. Oh, because I had it written in the. We have like a document that has all of our ideas for Morning Roast, and sometimes we go through them and like question why I wrote things. And I had written the art of invoicing, and Dave's kind of like, "What?" But I do think that there's a discussion to be had here because I've seen it, especially if you just go search Invoices and Black Window Cream in the Facebook group right now. There's a lot of people that have written something. Like I even saw one person that was like, hey, I don't even know how do I make the thing that you send someone to get paid for a job I did? Like people just didn't even know about that. And I don't know if that's something that most of you listening are kind of, I'm assuming you know what an invoice is, but I've ran into some stuff like learning how to do it myself, like especially when I started running my own LLC and started getting hired for like random freelance work. I remember I think now everyone needs to understand that creating invoices has never been easier ever in life. Okay. There's plenty of free platforms. Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah. Platform
Jesus
services,
Christ,
websites.
apps.
There's Excel templates. There's like
tons of options for you, which we'll get into the ones that we like or whatever. But at the time when I started, it's actually crazy how long I custom made this ill-ass invoice, which now is a damn template and looks pretty much the same as but it was fire. I even had like a wrinkly paper background. Maybe Darren, I'm going to give you an old invoice to put up during this because it's going to be funny to look at. But I would make this custom invoice and I would have to go into Photoshop every time to rebuild it to bill a client. I had no idea what I was doing. And then I would save all of them and I had a folder and I had it on a hard drive in case for a backup and just to keep track of my expenses, but I didn't know what I was doing. And that process was such a pain in the ass. It was so tedious to like go and make a proper invoice at the time. It was so stressful and annoying. And then I think at one point Andrew was like, yo, I use an app. He's like, will you bill me? Or he said, yo, will you invoice me for whatever the job was at the time? And I was like, yeah, I will tonight. And like, can't you just do it right now? And I'm like, no, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, just send me the invoice or whatever. Just use this app. And I was like, an app? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? And I like looked. You just fill out the basic info on an app and you can send an invoice. But man, I would go home and have to spend like 40 minutes trying to make it look fire. And
that's hilarious.
It's pretty dumb. But
you still have like on your invoice, you still have like your old logo on there.
Yeah, I still use the same logo that I made from like the Google photography days.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
It's a dope little iris.
I have my old logo on there too. I'm just joking, but it's funny.
Yeah, but at least
I feel like at the beginning you really want like when you first do your first invoice, you want it to look all creative, like I want it to look all cool, and then now the more you make them, you realize it's just like it's just straight up like simple as possible, clear what the information is.
What'd you do? How much did it cost? Where do I send the money?
Yeah.
That's all you need. I mean, I was sending invoices without my address on it. So then people would be like, hey, where did we send the money? And I'd be like, oh, yeah. I should make that part of the invoice, shouldn't I? Sorry, I'm custom making these on Photoshop. Or I left that thing invisible on the thing. But I look at it like it's a great way to create a presentation. Like you want it to look clean and cut and make sure that all your information is correct and updated. Like, even moving, like if you move, it's the new year, you move, whatever.
You never know. Sometimes you get paid direct deposit. Sometimes you get paid by check. Your invoice reflects your current mailing address. So if my invoice has the San Antonio on it, then my check's going to be mailed to San Antonio.
The other thing, first, let's talk about
places
that we use.
Places you get them, yeah.
Yeah, so we've been using Wave. Shout out to Wave. There's no fucking money behind this. I wish there was, but I don't know how they give you money because that shit is free.
Right.
Damn, this might as well have been an ad. No, but for real, it was, I think JR recommended Wave to me. Shout out to JR. And I think that they do, it's like it's basically like the competitor against QuickBooks, which I just bought and I haven't even like filled it out, QuickBooks, but I think you can invoice through all kinds of different platforms. Just literally Google invoicing for free. And there's plenty of options that show up, but Wave is super simple. It shows you like what you haven't been paid, invoices that have been paid. You can email it straight from the app. You fill out all the information. You can choose a bunch of different templates for like styles that might fit your brand or whatever. Super simple to use. And it's so free, and you can literally do it on your phone or you can do it on your computer. It keeps a log. You can send attachments to PDFs, download PDFs if you want, which is pretty sick. And you can do accounting stuff on that platform too for like a bonus.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And even invoice or receipts. Like I think they have a platform for receipts. But anyway, changed my life. Sign up for that. It's just super simple. And then at the end of the year when you're doing taxes and shit, it's like so easy because everything that you've been paid for is right there.
Right, and you can also keep a log of all your clients too. So when you input a client, you keep track of all your clients and their business, their emails and addresses and their contacts, and then you have a list of all the invoices for the year, so you know exactly how much you've been paid, and you can keep a record of like the services that you've offered and the prices you were offering.
Right. Like you build like the Rolodex of
the
like all these
Rolodex of
people.
like what you do. Yeah.
Right. So it's basically it's just quick for accounting and whatnot. But I think the other thing that's really good about it is that you can set, and we talk about this all the time, you can set like a net. Like a lot of different jobs will have a net 15, net 45, net 30, depending on like what the job is, which basically means that you can expect payment delivery from that invoice 15 days or net 30 days after the job is completed. So sometimes that sucks because you might do a job and you're like, oh cool, I'm getting $5,000 and it's net 45, and you can't get the 45 days net period rolling until you've submitted the final product and it's all done, right? And so that could be like 75 days technically, if depending on how long it took the job to do or editing took or whatever it may be, before you could ever see that check, which is a pain in the ass. So the goal is always to have a quick turnaround on net. Like if you can get net 15 or less, you're winning. Some people will pay immediately and that doesn't matter, but it's a good way for you to like set an alarm for the client when they see that it's due on this certain day, and you can add that to which I didn't know what that meant until I moved out here. Shit, like years after I moved out here, I was like, what is this?
Yeah, I just learned it from school, but
right.
You start understanding like the common, like different companies, like the bigger they get, it seems like the nets get longer, and it also is like a super motivator in terms of like turnarounds, like you were talking about, because a lot when I first got out here, I was like, I need to turn this video around in 2 days because then the clock starts. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to rack up, and if it's going to be net 30 and you take a week and a half to deliver the video, then you're essentially getting net 45 from the day you shot, because you have to edit for a week and then it's 30 days from that point.
Sucks.
Which is what I want to get into, because I feel like that's important to get into up front with your client, is to kind of like communicate or understand or just ask what net payment terms they have. Because sometimes if you're accepting a job and you get a certain rate, but they're like, yo, like what if they were just like, yo, it's net 60, and you're already like giving them a discount or you're like under, like they're trying to get you to come down, and you're like, I'm not seeing that money for 2 months. Like, is that worth it for me? Or if someone's like, yo, we don't have that much, but we can pay you in 14 days. It's like, maybe you'll just go knock it real quick, and you get that check faster. So it's important for you to know that, and also to stay on top. And I want you to get into this because you've told me a couple times where like you'll just be so busy that you won't even realize like, yo, who owes me money? And you'll go into like a place like Wave, and you'll be like, oh, it's been 36 days since this invoice, and you need to hit them up. And that's always important too. You really got to stay on top of that, because for freelancers, like your cash flow is so important, I feel like, and we're always working, and net payments are always like in different time frames, and you need to know like, when am I expecting my money? When is the money coming? So you can like plan your expenses, Right. Because let's say I did 3 jobs in the last month. All those have their own net payment dates, and I've done that work, but the money hasn't come yet, which means there are still expenses happening in life that you got to like know when that money's going to come in. You know what I mean?
And that's like, I guess I feel like people, as we're talking about this, I'm like, this is it feels like such common sense to me, but I'm hoping that there's some people out here that this is enlightening to, because learning the hard way of like understanding submitting invoices on time and delaying, sometimes I'd feel like, oh, I'll just get to that later. Like, I don't want to hit them with the bill yet. I want to like let that resonate, or let the piece I did resonate, or something, some dumb excuse I give myself not to give a client, or I just forget. Like I did a job 2 weeks ago and I literally have it. I just put it on my Trello board today to make sure that I write an invoice. I'm like, oh fuck, I did not submit an invoice. I like apologize to them, like, yo, I'll get you that right away. And I just delay it, because at the end, I'm always knowing, oh, I did that job, I'm gonna get paid. But that's not the fucking case. There was a time, an instance that I'll never forget this, is I worked with a corporate company and did like 3 different jobs, maybe more, tedious things, whatever. And I just had this ongoing bill with them. And the net is like, it was like net 45. So there's like several times that I've done all these jobs. And I took a loss because I would wait for so long, and then their fiscal year of basically like these big corporate companies get like budgets every fiscal year. We get these quarterly budgets or yearly budgets, and it comes from the top of the year, first quarter one. That's why you always see music videos going crazy in quarter one, because they got the budget and they become really small at the end of the year.
That's funny.
They would get this massive budget, right? So in the year before, I did all this work in 1 year, and then rolling into the next year, I'm trying to follow up to get paid for it. And there was confusion with who did what and all this shit about how I submitted it and when contracts were in place. And then it became past that point when their budget ran out and they had no more money to pay it, and I took the L.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like ultimately I took the L after trying to find all these right ways of getting this shit taken care of. I ended up, oh my God, I thought we weren't recording audio. Whew, I just had a heart attack for a second. I realized that I was never going to see that money, and it was like upwards 20 racks, like easy 20 racks that I took the L on, which I don't know if I've ever talked about on this motherfucking podcast, but that shit will wake your ass up to understand. And then the reason was, because contracts were in place, and I would just trust the person that hired me, that they would take care of it, and they thought someone else was taking care of it, and that person had no idea that they had to take care of it. And so there's this big ass communication mess that resulted in me not getting paid. And I would have invoices and I'd submit them, but I didn't realize that I had to tie contracts to it, or I didn't realize that they had to be submitted by a specific time, where I would just wait and just be like, I did the work, I'm going to get paid for it. And then you submit it and like, we don't have that money anymore. That money's been spent because you never invoiced. Why are you invoicing us 100 days later then instead of 10 or some shit? And I was like, I don't know. I just realized I need to get paid for it, and I just hit you.
You think that we agreed to this, I did the work, it was this much, I mowed that. Yeah. It's crazy. I think another reason why punctuality maybe is not so obvious, I think, is because you're never sure of like the process that has to go on like behind their doors for the payment to happen. You know what I mean? And the longer you wait, the more you're like putting that up in a situation like that up to the hands of chance, or you're delaying the process that has to happen. For example, if you work with a big label or whatever, they have their entire payment portal that once you invoice, then that person has to email another person for them to create you an account, for them to make a purchase order. That takes a couple days. Then you got to sign up for that. Then you got to submit your invoice, and that takes a couple days to get approved. And all that time is time that is delaying your payment.
Right.
And if you're waiting, you think let's say you think I'm gonna get paid in 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. Right. And you're like, I'll send it in a week, and then you don't realize that there's a whole other week of things that need to happen for that thing to kick in gear. Then you're delaying it even further. You know what I mean?
And these projects will run out of say for instance you do like a music video, that budget is being spent right then and there, and they need invoices immediately. Like some people are like, hey, can you send me an invoice right now? Right. Like they're so used to being able, like now having apps and shit for people to be able to send over the invoice, so that whoever is doing the line producing can like take all that info in and be able to write the checks and send it out, and they know they have the invoice accounted for, and they can send the checks out immediately. Otherwise it's like you're sitting on money that someone's gonna take spend. And if you don't collect your check, then that money is just sitting there. And like I think there's even a law, there's like a certain amount of time before, I think it's like a year after a project book wraps or something, that they can like you can't even fight it anymore.
Right, like there's probably the statute of limitations.
Yeah, you like waited way too fucking long to come and claim your check or some shit. But it's not, we don't say that to be scary. It's just the fact that if you just don't be lazy in a freelance position, it becomes very easy to become chilling. Like if you could literally just be like, oh, what do I have to do today? And I do this all the time, still to this fucking day. I'll just, what do I have to do today? Oh, I have to write an invoice. So I'm like, I just did that job last week. I know this client, they're going to pay me money. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to do it. But usually I see the tendency be like, if I have a client that's brand new and they like, hey, thanks for coming to do the job. No worries. Boom. All right, cool. Now what? And I'm like, what's your email? And I send them the invoice like within an hour. And they're like, all right, cool. And they get the ball rolling, and then that check's paid. And I'm like, all right, cool. I know that I don't have to be so pressing next time because I have to get X, Y, and Z done. And even though it takes fucking 5 minutes to fill out an invoice, it's still just, I have to write the invoice and I have to draft up an email and attach that shit and make sure everything's right. And you know what I mean? Or
also send your W-9 with it.
Send a W-9.
That's just a tip, just because you're going to send it and they're going to ask for it anyway. So
yeah,
just
send the W-9. Yeah. But it's all just like, but I think on a small micro level too, there's another level to it where if you're working with like local businesses or shit, some people don't even need invoices because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like a rapper could book a shoot with you and you're trying to like get paid, and they might just like Venmo you or something.
Right.
And if you go around asking for a check, they're like, I've never written a check. And
Regardless,
you just
though,
need to try to get your bag.
Right. I think also that there's another maybe an angle that just made me think of something is like an invoice too is not only like for you to get paid, but it's also like a record of services you provided and how much you got paid for it, which proves like useful in taxes later on, but also like a contract type thing where that rapper or a small business was like, yeah, I'll pay you for X, right? And you have your invoice is like your proof of like, we agreed, like, here's your name, this is exactly what we agreed to, it's this much, and you have something to point to that says like the date that you. So it's like a written record.
To piggyback off that, because I've also dealt. This is also one of my learning curves. Was like when I was working with another artist. This is early on. It was like, oh, how much are we gonna do it? And it was over the phone. You're getting paid this much money. All right, cool. And then when it came down to it, it was like, all right, hey, I need to collect the check. I didn't even send an invoice for some reason because we always knew what it was. And then they gave me a check and it was mad short. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I think I even tried to put it in an invoice or something, but it didn't matter because we had no record of it. And we were talking about getting into estimates and what an estimate was and the difference of it, which I think should be a different conversation because creating estimates solves that problem. If you wrote the estimate is truly what the first portion of it is. You send the estimate and the client is agreeing. You want them to agree on motherfucking paper in an email or whatever. Yes, we're down. That's like your first
verbal commitment
contract,
to the price, yeah.
But then you want to go and the ideal goal is to go and create a real contract that both parties sign, etc. But at least you have proof in an email where you said, hey, I sent you an estimate. The job's going to cost me X amount of money. And you said, okay, cool. And then we did the job. And now you're telling me, no, we never agreed on that. No, it's all right there in the email. And that was what happened to me on the first one. It was like, well, we never said that, did we? I was like, you sly motherfuckers. Like you finessed this shit. But I think that's part of it. But yeah, I think it's great to have your invoices to just check back on instead of like I used to do it where I would put everything in a spreadsheet by month, and it was like this whole thing where I'd like outline all the jobs I did because they're all little jobs that were like little money that added up to bigger money.
Right.
So I'd like, okay, cool. I mean, $200 here. Well,
yeah.
Let's put that in January. And I'm like, all right, wait, did I make anything? And then I wouldn't write anything for 2 months because I'd be distracted and I didn't do it. And I'm like, fuck, what did I get paid for? And I'm like digging up old checks, and you forget which people Venmo'd you or you forget which people did a online. And it's such a pain in the ass. But if you use one platform and commit to it, you can track all that shit, and it saves so much time and energy later when you need to reference that stuff, you know?
Right. And I think, yeah, just tying in that little estimate deal, because we should do a conversation on that because I feel like it kind of ties into the process.
We will.
But another thing too is like making your invoices look like official as possible. For example, like a client reaches out to you by DM, and then you move to email and you're locking something in, and then let's say you send a bid or estimate out front, and then it says like Haggerty made it LLC address, blah blah blah. It has like, it looks nice and clean, like, oh, okay, I'm messing with someone who like has their stuff together, you know what I mean?
Right.
And same way on the back end, if you're sending an invoice and I'm just like, oh, it's Dave, like I hired him for something, but like, no, it's blah 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 productions, etc., all that stuff, and it's official and it's written out by date, and it has your services rendered, etc. Like, you just have that layer of like professionality that is valuable, I feel like, in terms of.
I wanted to get into the last part because we don't need to riff on this too long, but how to structure invoices too. Like, the beauty of an invoice is that you can add your line items, cool, which you may have negotiated up front, but then sometimes you have to do extra services like in a project, but most likely you're communicating that. So say here's a scenario. You're working with the person that's the lead of the project, right? And you got hired to, I don't know, edit a video. Cool, you start editing the video. Then they realize that they needed to have music, some free music, so you purchase a song. But they gave you permission, and then you're going to get paid. So now your payment is, I don't know, to edit the video is $100. I'm just saying numbers. $100, and to buy the song was $25. So now you're going to get paid $125. That's like the rate. If you just submitted an invoice that just said edit job $125, and that's like your submission to the client, if someone else in their party looks at it and they're like, wait, I thought we paid this motherfucker $100, why is it $125, or why is it $5,500, or what, you know what I mean, whatever the number is, if you don't break down each line it creates confusion and frustration at later when someone's trying to pick apart why they paid someone X amount of money.
Exactly.
Especially if you go into overtime, or if you go into like additional days of editing, or if you go into additional days of shooting, or whatever it may be. You have to outline those line items. And then Dave also had a great point. He says that he's been working this into a lot of his invoices that he's been doing lately. If he cracks a deal with someone, do you want to get into that?
Yeah, it's simple. I think that I love that what you said, and I think this kind of plays off that, which is, you know, when you someone approaches you for a job and you're like, how much would you charge for XYZ? And you're like, this is my rate for that. And they'd be like, oh man, we don't really have that much. You know what I mean? And then you do the whole back and forth dance where you're like, okay, do I want to work with this person? Yes. Okay. Could you do this? And they're like, oh yeah, I think we could do that. Or maybe you have to come down a little lower, whatever it is. And then when you're making the invoice, you're putting like those services that you're giving them, and then you're putting their price on it. And it's almost like you're telling them like, that's what I charge for this, which is not, because you told them it was this rate. And a lot of times you want to project to your clients, like you want them to understand that if you're coming down for them, you're coming down for them. And it's not like an every time thing. Right. So then I've seen it done, and I started implementing it where it's like, okay, if let's say the rate is, we'll just use $200, right? If it's $200 but they're gonna get you for $100, it's like my rate for this is $200, and you're getting a discount of negative $100, so the total invoice is $100,
which you can put on the invoice.
Yeah, you can put in basically you put a line item that's negative to show them that they're getting you at a discount, and so that way in the future you're already sending that message that you came down for them, but they can't expect to come to you next time and always pay you $100 because your rate is $200.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, that's solid. I think that's super important. But just make sure to outline anything that they're buying on this list and just make it clear as fuck. And it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I think also another thing too is sometimes, you know, you want to be forthcoming with like everything up front, so you deal with like the least amount of like back and forth emailing that takes time. So sometimes they might ask you to, like, maybe there's a purchase order associated with your invoice and you got to reflect that. And if you don't, then they're going to send it back to you 3 days later and be like, oh, you didn't include this, or your address isn't on there like we talked about earlier, or maybe, you know, you didn't send your W-9, or you need to include your bank account number, or there's some note you need to include on the invoice to like, for them that need, and like you just want to have all that information up front, so you send it and the process starts. You
want to know another thing that I used to do with the Photoshop days?
Right.
Like, say I had a client that was reoccurring, I would like, okay, so my invoice number would be like 1,010, and I did the job with them, and then we kept working together, but maybe I wasn't getting a bunch of clients around that one client, so technically they'd be 1,011. But I would change it to like 1,025 just to make it look like I had a bunch of jobs in between.
Yo, that's hilarious. You know what? That's hilarious, because you know what I do?
Move.
You know what I do? I do the numbering based on the client. So it'll be like, for example, let's say it's like Universal Music Group or whatever. So it's UMG, and then the first time I work with them is UMG 001. And so then if I work with them 5 times, it's UMG 00. It's like 5, and that's how I keep track of, like, you know, oh, like last year for taxes or whatever, like I work with Free Enjoy, like how many times I work with them? Oh, like 6 times.
Right.
I have FJ 001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's how you keep track on your end. But then you're like, yeah, UMG 2002. We've worked.
I would do that all the time, because I would work with these clients doing the Google shit, or even out here. I think when I first got started, it was like, you want to portray that you're working, right? And so like you finally get one client, and then they're gonna come back to you, and you're like, hell yeah. And when they come back to you, you're like, I don't want them to see that this is 1002 when they got 1001.
They paid me the last time.
Oh fuck, I need to make it look like I did 8 jobs since then. It's been a month. You know what I mean? But really, you're just sitting here trying to figure out how you're gonna get another job from anyone, let alone it be them. And then you finally secure it, and you're like, all right, cool, I'm gonna make them look. And I guarantee you, no one ever looks at that shit.
Because that's mostly for your records. That's like a reference to the invoice.
It is, but it's funny as hell. Funny. But if you do see it pop up and you're like, oh, okay, cool, they be working. This dude got 2,000 jobs in one day. All right, that's dope. That shit's so funny, man. These things used to look. It was pretty dope, honestly. What I used to make, but all right, cool. That wraps it up. I know we'll definitely do one about estimates, because I feel like that's worth talking about too. Let us know in the comments if you have any other questions about this shit. We'll make sure to answer here on YouTube. As you know, we always end our morning roast with the question of the day from our Patreon community. So if you have a chance, if you want to have a chance to have your question asked on this podcast, we will answer it. Go to jointhehomies.com and ask your question in our private Discord channel. The question of today comes from Mellow Min H. I don't know what your username is, but it looks like that.
I might say it's Melomine.
Melomini. He says, "Hi, beautiful people. I have a question about payments. If you are working in-house for a music venue, let's say the House of Blues, how much would you normally charge the client, the house, per show? If so, why, and what benefits do you provide them?" I think that's the question you got to ask yourself first and foremost, is what benefits are you going to provide them for that job? Me, having worked when I first got started, I was working in a music venue in Iowa, and I was the in-house videographer, photographer, and I would get paid hourly for that shit because I didn't know what I was doing. And so I would make $10 an hour, maybe.
That's crazy.
Is that crazy? I don't remember what it was. $10 to come through, and I would go to every show, and I would shoot every show, and I would provide them with tons of photos with their big ass logo in the corner that we could put on Facebook and all this shit. So all my photos were up there, and I never really got. I think I had credit, but it didn't mean shit because I didn't know what I was doing. But that I came to them offering them that. I actually came to offer them for me to be a runner so that I could go buy groceries and shit for these bands that were coming through because I thought that was cool.
Did you want to like possibly meet them and shit?
I don't know. I just thought it was cool to be a part of like, that behind the scenes shit. And then they're like, well, do you want to do like, we need videos. And I was like, yeah, I could do videos too and be a runner and like.
And be a runner and also produce the shows.
And I was like, say all the shit. And they're like, all right, well, let's just start with this. I did a runner for one day. And then I was like, dude, I don't know what any of this shit is. I don't know what this vegan cheese is. I'm not meant for this job anymore. Fuck that. And but anyway, like if I was going to approach House of Blues right now and try to like become their in-house photographer, you should definitely listen to the Danilo episode because he did this with a lot of the local venues in DC. I thought that was good. There's good insight there. But I think I would just try to find, what's the purpose for both of you? Are you just trying to get in and shoot shows to build your resume, or are you already a beast and you know that you could work with them to build their marketing department, help them establish and sell more tickets, use photos from past shows that will be good for banners and promo and things like that? What's that worth to you? I think
at the base,
don't have much time.
At the base level, it's like, I don't know if you're a photographer or you do video on this, but let's say, let's talk either one. Let's say you're just a video person to make it simple. And let's say you're trying to get into this venue and you want to shoot videos for them. Essentially, you approach them with a price that I imagine with this, it would be more so like one inclusive price that includes you're coming out to shoot one singular show and you're turning around an edit.
Right.
What is that value worth to you? It's different for anyone. I don't know how much experience you have or how much budget House of Blues has. Are you trying to break in? Or are you someone that works regularly and you're trying to pitch them on bringing them better videos? But I think for a venue, it's more so like if you're a photographer, you'd be like, okay, it's going to cost this much for me to come in and I'm going to give you an album of 20 edited, delivered photos. If you're a videographer, you'd be like, I'm going to come through, I'm going to shoot, and I'm also going to turn around a 1-minute IG recap edit of the show and put a price on that. And that's the package that you're providing them. If you do both, you could say, which I used to do, you would be like, I'm shooting photo and video, you're gonna get at least 20 edited final photos the next morning, and you'll get a video within 3 to 5 days or whatever.
Package it out.
Then that's the price. And then if you wanted to build to line it out, you could say it costs X amount for shooting and X amount for editing. But I think for some of these venues, you're just like tell them a price, and it includes you're gonna shoot and you're gonna edit and you're gonna turn around photos, and then have work to show them.
I think that's a great idea. Make sure that your packages are set up to be like you want to push them to go for the more expensive. Do you like this look?
What are you doing right now, bro?
I think I was just wondering. I was cold earlier, so I did this shit, and then I did it again just now, and I think I look fly, huh?
Yeah, sure, bro.
Thanks, bro. You should be watching on YouTube if you're listening on audio just to see what.
Just to finish real quick, you were saying something about packages. What were you saying?
Yeah, I think the importance is finding a way to create the package. If you're gonna create a package, like, hey, for $100, I'll do this. For $150, I'll do this. You want to make them different enough to make them want to pay for the top tier. You know what I mean?
And also, you don't want to make your pack like. I would be hesitant if you're like a photographer, videographer, and you're like, okay, for $500, I'll shoot photos, and for $1,500, I'm just throwing out numbers, I'll shoot video and photo, right? And then they're like, oh, we only need photos. And then you're like lower capping yourself. Yeah, where it's like what you really want to do video. So just make sure you're setting it up. Like I would look at a House of Blues and you're like, oh, it seems like they have a lot of photographers, and people like, what don't they have and what can I provide? Oh, maybe they're not doing more like longer form stuff.
Right.
And you'll be like, yo, I'll for this price I'll come and shoot, and I'll create like a more Facebook YouTube driven edit with this and that or whatever.
Yo, before we end, I want to shout out our latest Patreon member, Antonio Lattimore. I don't know if I said your last name, but shout out to you for joining the Patreon squad. G, you're now an homie. What's the shit called? The homie for sure. Damn, I was like, am I saying this right? Homie for sure, which means that you are invited to our live stream that we're doing on the 26th with Kawika. So if you haven't heard about it yet, this is I'll probably be the first thing to announce it right here. We're doing a live stream. We're testing a new platform that we do it in where you can tap in and you can join the chat. It's not on YouTube or anything. It's like a private one for Patreon members. But we're doing an introduction to VFX. That's the name of this whole thing. With a VMA Award Winning VFX artist, Kawika Bonis. We're going to dive into a couple different topics and discuss it live with you guys, and then do a dope Q&A where we're going to be able to actually have you like hop in video chat and talk to me and Kawika and do an exclusive Q&A. So if you're interested in that, you should go to jointhehomies.com, patreon.com/blackwithnocream, whatever one you prefer, and sign up now to register and save your seat. That'd be cool. Anything else?
Nothing. Just shout out to the homie Isaac. Have we shouted him out, or is that old?
Oh no, Isaac left a review on iTunes.
Yeah,
so
thank you to Isaac for leaving us a dope review. DM us for stickers, and that's it. I think we got an episode coming up this Sunday with a rapper named Jero, and he's coming up right now. Someone put him on our radar, and I remember.
Yeah, his name's LeBron James.
I remember getting put on to him because his song was used in a LeBron James. Like LeBron James was fucking with him, and I think it was used in like an ad, like LeBron James
NBA
video.
Live.
And it was an NBA Live. So,
dope.
Shout out.
Yeah, stoked to do that interview. All right, cool. That's it. New episode every single Wednesday and Sunday. We'll see you in a few days. You.